On the night of September 13th, 1997, if you were walking through the streets of downtown Los Angeles, you would see that the streets were quiet and deserted, but the sound of a truck carrying banknotes broke the silence. As usual, this truck had collected money from businesses and banks and was taking it to their center, where they have a large safe. In the center where this safe is located, a person named Alan Pace works. Alan Pace was the security director of this building, and all the technology created for this building was supervised and managed by Alan. Many people thought that Alan was an ordinary employee here, but because he was smart, they had given him a series of tasks, and they did not know that they were dealing with a criminal genius. He did his job well and was friends with everyone. From the first day he was hired at this center, he always looked at the safe there differently and thought to himself, "I have to rob this." That's why he worked patiently and in the best possible way to achieve his goal. Everyone could see how well and systematically he was doing his job. That's why they had given him higher ranks and made him the security director there. After a few years of working here, Ellen knows everything and realizes that she can't carry out her plan alone and needs help. That's why she goes to 5 of her old friends who were also criminals. He gathers them and tells them the whole story of the safe. We said that he knows the place very well over the years. He even knows what time people come to work, when they go to lunch, and even when they return. One good thing about Ellen's job was that he could take pictures of every corner of the center, because all this work was to make the center safer. But with these pictures, he could show his friend where we were going and what we were going to do. Since he was also in charge of the cameras, he knew exactly where the cameras were looking and where the blind spots were. Even though the center's security system is very advanced, it was 1997, which means it was advanced then. Not now. Nowadays, when they put cameras in a place like this, they have 100% coverage and no blind spots. But back then, the center had a total blind spot. Lately, Alan Pace's job was to go in the morning, to work there, and keep a close eye on it, and then go to another job in the afternoon. He met with 5 of his old friends who were now his partners. This has been going on for 5 months. They have meetings every night and are planning how to build this safe. Most of the time he spent planning was teaching his friends the entire building plan so that there were no mistakes. One good thing about Alan was that he was a patient person, and he would tell his friends that we should be patient and move forward. Otherwise, if we try to rush, we will get caught. Everything was going well until we get to September 12th, 1997, the day when Alan Pace suddenly gets a shock because when he goes to work in the morning, he is told that we don't need you anymore and you are fired. Now, what was the reason for the dismissal? The reason was that as a joke, he had turned on the taillight of his friend's car and taken it away, and his friend had also gone to complain to the management there. In short, a joke would cause Alan to be fired. He didn't think that they had planned so much. Everything was going to fall apart. That night, he called his friends, and they held a meeting. He said that if we want to do what we have been planning for months, we have to do it tomorrow. Because I was fired, because if we are late, our information will be outdated. It was a good day for Ellen to be fired, Thursday, and the next day, Friday, there is usually a lot of money in the safe, meaning the most money that goes into this safe during the week is Friday. In short, we get to Friday night. Ellen and her friends, because they wanted to be close to the center and had to waste time, went to a nearby nightclub. When it was 11 p.m., they left the club. They got into their van, which was full of weapons, masks, and gloves, and headed straight for the money storage center. Of course, that's it. I have to say that the van they got into was a rental. In short, Ellen and her friends went to the back of the building, which had a door that had a key, so they easily entered the first room. According to their 5-month training program, they moved through points that were blind spots. Ellen Pace moved forward, passing through the blind spots of the cameras, and her friends followed her wherever she put their feet. It was 12:30 at night. Ellen knew that at this time the guards would all go to the cafeteria to get coffee, so Ellen and 5 of her friends stood in the cafeteria with masks and guns, waiting for them to come in and take them all hostage and do their job easily. They disarmed them one by one, tied their hands and feet, and taped their mouths. The most important thing Ellen knew here was that one of the guards they disarmed had the key to the safe room. Not the safe itself, because the safe door was coded. This key allowed them to access the coded door of the safe. Whatever we say about the door of this safe, we said 18 inches thick steel, meaning it was impossible for anyone to open this safe without a code. But Ellen knew that this was the time when, because so much money was coming and going, the safe door was actually open, meaning you could open it without a code, and Ellen knew this well. He goes to the safe very easily, turns it, and it opens. He didn't need air to cut it, no pneumatic hammer, no bomb. He just turned it and went inside the safe. There were shelves inside, shelves with bags of money inside, but with locks on the doors. Just regular locks. So one of the tools that Ellen told her friends she should have with her was a milling machine. With this milling machine, they can easily remove these locks and take the money out. Another thing that made their job easier was that Ellen knew which shelves had the larger bills, and they went to the larger ones. Within minutes, they took $18.9 million in cash and left the center. This $18.9 million would be worth more than $35 million in today's money. But Alan Pace's job wasn't done. He went back into the center, entered the camera room, and took the memory of all the cameras. At that time, there was no internet, so all these memories were stored on tape. He even knew that the backup was stored in a secret cabinet. He went to that cabinet and took them. He put everything in a bag and ran out. That night, Alan and his friends managed to break the record for the world's largest cash robbery. These 6 quickly made it to one of their houses and emptied all the money into that house. They put on their normal clothes again and went back to the same club they were at. If anyone asks later where we were that night, they should say, "We were in this club until morning." They would stay in this club until morning, and when the weather cleared, they would go to their friend's house. What do you think they're going to do with the cash they've earned? You must think that tomorrow their madness will start. They'll go buy Rolls Royces, Rolexes, the best suits in the department stores, but none of this happened. Alan Pace had told his friends that we should wait for now. If you start spending money tomorrow, you'll get caught very quickly. Imagine that you don't have any money for a while. Someone gave them $100,000 and said, "Take this and put it in your house." Just spend it on your normal expenses. Don't buy anything extra. A few days later, they'll rent a warehouse and secretly transfer the money to that warehouse so that it's not in the houses. Meanwhile, the news of this robbery explodes like a bomb in the whole of America, and all the news agencies are talking about it. The biggest cash robbery in the world has happened in Los Angeles. It wasn't a small amount of money that the Los Angeles police wanted to investigate, so the FBI got involved. The FBI agents started the investigation inside the center, looking for fingerprints, but they didn't find anything. The guards who had taken the hostages didn't even see their faces. They just said there were 5 or 6 of them. They grabbed us and tied our hands and mouths, and we never saw them again. We said that they had taken the camera memory, meaning the camera data, but the backup tapes that were hidden in a closet and that Alan had taken became a clue for the FBI. They said that whoever did this robbery worked for this center. They started questioning all the employees. When they asked each of them, "Who do you think did this?" everyone said, "Alan Pace." They said, "Who is Alan Pace?" "He's someone who was fired a few days ago." In short, the FBI searches everything in the center, and the only thing they find in the parking lot is the taillight glass of a truck, the same truck they took the money with. This taillight glass doesn't prove anything either, because there are a lot of these types of trucks in Los Angeles, and they all have this light. The FBI keeps an eye on Ellen from afar to see what she's really doing. They don't catch anything because they see that she's living in her mother's house, and they even closed her bank account when they fired her. The FBI searches for 6 months and nothing is caught. At this time, Alan is slowly distributing the money among his friends and is also giving them a lot of orders to please not make a mess, take it easy, don't buy big things. But these friends were not interested. They had gotten up in the morning and gone to buy a car and a house and land. But Alan himself first registers a company to invest this money over a few years. Everything is going well until one of his friends goes to buy land. He doesn't pay attention to the bundles of banknotes he gives to the seller. There's a bank statement on it that came in that safe. He doesn't even pay attention to this. He gives the seller the same statement. The seller also gets suspicious and says, "Why did you bring so much cash?" But it doesn't matter because it was clear where the money came from because the buyer is known and he also has the land deed. It is being transferred. But the seller gets a little suspicious, so he calls his bank and says, "I sold a piece of land and the buyer is paying all the money in cash. I want to make sure it's not a fake." The bank says, "Bring it here so we can take a look." It doesn't take long for the bank to see the money and look at the bundle and realize that it came from a safe that had been stolen. They call the police. When the police realize that it's money from a safe, they call the FBI. The FBI quickly realizes that this money is the same money that was stolen. That means whoever gave the money is a clue to the theft. The friend who bought this land was named Eugene, and the FBI quickly arrested him. The problem was that the truck they used to rob was also rented by Eugene and was called this. During their investigation, they found out that Eugene was also connected to Alan Pace, who they had heard at the center all the time that he had committed this robbery. The FBI now became 100% suspicious of Alan, and they went and broke into his house and saw that there were millions of dollars in cash there. Eugene also betrayed 4 other friends. They broke in and arrested everyone. Alan, as the leader of the gang and an employee of this center, is sentenced to 25 years, but 5 other friends are sentenced to 10 years. There is a mystery here. The FBI was only able to find $7 million of the $18,900,000. That is, more than $11 million were not known where it was. Whenever they ask them where the $11 million is, they say that we spent it like this. We don't know. It is interesting to know that Alan Pace was released just 2 years ago after 23 years in prison, but there is no news that the FBI is still monitoring him to see if he might go after the money. His friends were also released years ago. The FBI was monitoring them too, but they didn't catch anything. It is not known what happened to the $11 million.